Hi everyone, so in this part we're going to look at alkanes. We'll see alkanes and the physical properties of alkanes. So here's what you need to know according to the IGCSE syllabus. So properties of alkanes, unreactive in terms of burning, then describe the bonding in alkanes. So for those doing extended course, you'll need to be able to name and draw structures of unbranched alkanes, isomerism, and substitution reactions. Okay, so let's see. We're going to look at structures. So name and draw. So we're going to look at the name and the drawing of the structures. Okay. So, alkanes are hydrocarbons, which means they contain carbon and hydrogen atoms only. So, remember when we said that the names, so the start, the name where the start of the name tells you how many carbon atoms there is. So, because we're looking at alkanes, so everything will end with ane, and we'll use the prefixes to say how many carbon atoms there's going to be in there. So if it has one carbon atom, so the name will start with meth, so it's going to be methane. If it's two carbon, so the name will start with F, so then it's going to be ethane. 3 carbon, it will start with prop, so propane. It's a single word. And 4 carbons is going to be butane. Right, it should end with ane, and the prefix tells you how many carbons there is. You should know the prefixes, what they mean. Now, structural formula shows all the bonds between all the atoms. Okay, so methane has 1 carbon. So let's draw the 1 carbon. Only 1 carbon. And because alkanes are hydrocarbons, they contain carbon and hydrogen only. Remember when I told you that carbon is in group 4? So carbon is in group 4, which means it has valency 4, means it will form only 4 bonds. It needs to form 4 bonds. It cannot form less than 4 bonds or more than 4 bonds. And hydrogen form only 1 bonds. So we'll apply this here. So carbon forms 4 bonds. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 1 carbon. The rest is going to be hydrogen. H, 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 and H. Structural formula. This is going to show groups of atoms and a few bonds. So in this case, it's just going to be, so how many carbons you have? 1 carbon. How many hydrogen you have? 4 hydrogen. Okay. In this case, molecular formula and structural formula will be the same. So in this case, it's going to be CH4 itself. Let's see ethane. Ethane, 2 carbons. 1 carbon, 2 carbon bonded to each other, single bonds. It's alkane, we're referring to alkanes. Alkanes, they have all single bonds. And the rest of the bonds is going to be hydrogen. Hydrogen. Carbon needs to form 4 bonds. So 1, 2, 3 is already formed with carbon, and 4th one. So H, H, H. We'll fill this one as well. H, H, H. So this is ethane. Our carbon is forming 4 bonds. Each carbon is forming 4 bonds. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And the other carbon as well is forming 4 bonds. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see all the number of respected there. Okay. So what will be the structural formula? So in this case, structural formula will show groups of atoms. So we'll see this one as a group. So CH3, this one as another group, CH3. Okay? And the molecular formula shows the number of atoms. So number of atoms, there's 2 carbons and there is 6 hydrogen. Let's see propane now. So propane, there's 3 carbons. So let's have our 3 carbons. 1, 2, 3, all single bonds because it's alkanes. And then we'll fill everything with hydrogen. This carbon, this one needs to form 3 more bonds. 1, 2, 3. This one is already forming 2 bonds here. Okay, so 1 bond here and 1 bond here. So we'll add 2 more. This one is forming 1 bond, so we'll add 3 more. And then we fill with H everywhere. So that's propane. Okay, so we'll show the groups of atoms. So we'll group this. So CH3, CH2, CH3. Okay, that's how we'll show the structural formula. And then the molecular formula, which shows the number of atoms. So how many carbon we have? 3 carbons. How many hydrogen? 8 hydrogen. So that's the formula of propane. Whenever you are asked to draw propane, propane always looks like this. Okay, it's fixed. Butane, so how many carbon will it have now? Butane, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, all single bonds. And each carbon should form 4 bonds. So let's fill in with hydrogen. We fill with hydrogen like this. Okay. So each carbon is forming 4 bonds. Always check once you have drawn the formula, you have drawn the structure, always check that it's forming the appropriate number of bonds. And for the structural formula, so 1 group, 2 group, 3 group, 4 group. So let's draw one by one. So CH3, CH2, but how many CH2 do we have? We have 1 CH2 here and a second CH2 here. So we'll put CH2 twice and then CH3. Okay, it's fine. You could also write it like this. CH3, CH2, CH2, CH3. That's fine too. It's the same thing. And then the molecular formula, how many carbons we have? 4 carbons. And if you count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hydrogen. H, 10. Okay. So C4H10. So these are the